Hello and welcome to the first episode of the Gaming Booth podcast. I'm Mitch, and joining me is Russell.
Sup?
And Jordan.
Hello.
Now, we've done this podcast thing a couple times in the past. This is our time to do it right. With a new name, new intro, new everything. A better host than our last one in every single way possible.
Damn straight, damn straight.
I hope Brian sees this bit. It's made for you, Brian. So to kind of kick the podcast off, we have to solve a certain problem. And now, we get these problems from a place called the multiverse. It's a realm of endless possibilities, and these realms need our help. So the first plea for help comes from Earth 37b, a place well known where Hideo Kojima is still a valued employee of Konami. Strange, I know. And the best thing about 37b is that Metal Gear Survive never existed.
Already an achievement.
Yeah, it's a great little world. And so, because Konami is still a company that make games, who would have thought, we have been chosen to decide who will be the creative director of the newest Castlevania game.
Ooh.
It's a good honour. This world, we've been given two choices. Two tough choices who can make a really good one of these games. You have the choice between Cory Barlog, director of the recent God of War, or Hideki Miyazaki, director of Bloodborne and Dark Souls.
Oh, that's pretty obvious.
Is it?
Yes.
Do tell.
It's the latter, because Bloodborne rules, Dark Souls rules, and I haven't finished God of War. Hardly even played it.
Russell?
Admittedly, I would double up on Jordan's sentiment in the respect of, I think for starters, Castlevania would more likely align itself to a Bloodborne revamping. But even less than that, I just want Cory Barlog to really just stick it to God of War right now, because they've set themselves up for a great continuation of that story, and it would be a shame in this universe for him to moved on to Castlevania, where I think Miyazaki, for the Bloodborne From Software team, I think they could do a stellar job making an excellent Bloodborne type experience in the Castlevania universe. Like, it's already almost there. It's kind of close.
It's almost there.
Make Castlevania hard again.
So what I know about because we're in a different whole timeline, so this game is released. It was Game of the Year. So you've chosen well. I don't know what Cory Barlog would have done, but hey, we'll never know.
So Miyazaki did make this game?
He did make the game, yeah. We
Right.
chose for him. So moving on from the multiverse, we've solved their problem for this week. Now we're moving on to solve and discuss problems of our personal reality. To jump straight in to the most newsworthy things of this week. So the great scourge of loot boxes has come to our shores in Australia because they're having a Senate inquiry into loot boxes, which will report by September 17. Was this inevitable? Did we see this coming?
I mean, right now it seems like every single government is considering whether loot boxes are gambling or not.
Hawaii,
Yeah,
Belgium,
all the rest of them. Like, there's
Netherlands.
multiple locations have already considered it to be that being the case. So it's no real surprise that Australia needs to make that decision as well, whether they are. I think in the past we pretty much, you and me at least, Mitch, you've said, yeah, they're pretty much gambling.
Yeah, you can see our previous videos.
Well, the thing I find with that is, if it's gambling, then it should have no problem, because they don't really restrict any other gambling at all.
Well, they do restrict gambling. There's multiple laws on that. But Jordan, I think you'll find it great to know that it was a Jordan who brought this up.
Oh, was it?
Jordan Steele Youngs, the Green Senator. So the whole inquiry is basically about, the loot boxes. Are they gambling? Do they break Australian law and regulations? The only really reason I brought it up is because it's in Australia. If it was anywhere else, it's just like, yeah, we've seen it, but this one kind of directly affects us in the end.
I was going to say, in the grand scheme of things, it does, but which way it'll fall, I'm not exactly sure. Australia, even when there was obviously the big R18 plus stuff in the past, and even with that going through, there still is the assumption everything's allowed through, and then we've got We Happy Few with the drug, we have to get rid of it, and now it's the assumption is maybe we were too harsh on that, we won't pull back. So there's always the if and buts, unsureties of things. I think Australia will probably follow the countries that are considering it gambling, but you never know. You never know.
Yeah. Do we believe it should be banned outright, personally? Do we reckon it is gambling and it's a thing that loot boxes need to be a thing of the past?
The way I see it, as long as it doesn't affect gameplay, there's no problem because you don't have to use them because they're just an extra feature. But yes, it's definitely gambling when you don't know what you're going to get. There are some games that do it worse than others. I know I'm a big Elder Scrolls fan, but the way that they've been doing it recently, where it's like, generally it used to be, if you didn't get what you want, you could break it down for gems and then get something else. But then they've had things where you have to get it from a box. So you have to buy a box and then be lucky to get it. Otherwise, you just keep spending money. So you can spend $20 or you can spend $400.
I've witnessed you buying each of those boxes.
Too much.
Well, the funny thing is, like, the most atrocious company is obviously EA. It's the one that started the entire thing to begin with. And ironically, like at E3, it's like they're the ones who are the only ones who are really addressing loot boxes. Like, we're not putting loot boxes in this game, while at the same time showcasing like FIFA and Madden, not even mentioning the fact that they're going to be full to the brim with loot boxes like they've always had.
They're following the Activision thing of like, sweep it under the rug. No one will think about it. They'll just don't talk about it. And it's just like, forget they're in there. It'll come out. Hopefully the controversy doesn't come with it because... God, there's been so much controversy about loot boxes because of Battlefront 2.
But it's one of those things, like, if it does become literally illegal to include these loot boxes, as it were, in these games, what point of it segmenting the market to the point of EA just can't actually do it anymore? It's not just EA, but EA is the easiest one to target because they're the ones so rifle with them. But if it's illegal, I mean, they have no choice. They kind of have to, like, well, we either don't release in this country...
Which is a bigger monetary loss. Because they're not selling the game in the first place. It's like, EA aren't the only company with loot boxes. You've got Black Ops 4, will have all types of microtransactions, as many as Activision Blizzard can fit in. Many Blizzard games, Overwatch invented it, basically.
Ubisoft, like, there's plenty of companies implementing microtransactions in all their games. And Microsoft, most of their games, they're just there.
It's something we've gotten used to, but it's becoming more and more of a problem as time goes by.
People are really, like, speaking out on it now.
It used to be like one or two things in a box, and now it's like you have half the game in a box.
Welcome to the modern gaming industry. It's kind of... they are a very more lucky dip system because you are getting rewards, but it's predatory practices that aim for anyone they can, and whoever's going to spend that money, they'll get them. That's what they want to do.
The most extreme case of loot boxes that I could think of in the future would be you have to open a loot box to get a random DLC. But you only get part of a DLC. You have to get 10 parts to unlock the DLC.
It's funny you say that, because it almost reminds you of what EA did with Plants vs. Zombies. Like, it was like card packs, but you only got like a piece of the gear. So, like, you have to get like 5 of the card or whatever to get that weapon.
PUBG does it as well.
Yeah, well, there you go.
But yeah, do we think the Senate will find that these are unlawful and break the rules?
I would find that even though it might be dodgy business... they won't pass anything by it because they're not truly gamers like us.
And finally, is it Yong Ye? Is he responsible for all this?
Who is Yong Ye?
He's a YouTuber who covers not exclusively loot boxes, but it's a main focus of his channel is covering everything involving it.
Yeah, he does a damn good job covering that stuff. But anyway, that's our thoughts on the Australian side of loot boxes. And so, to leave the whole political nonsense, we've gone to a place of happiness and dreams that have never been broken before, because Halo is getting a TV show officially ordered by Showtime Networks. Are we excited for this?
Yes, with a question mark, because we don't know anything about it.
I think that's a good way to describe it, actually. I'm like, it's cautiously optimistic because the way they talk about it, they're likening it to like a massive big budget experience. Like everyone's saying it these days, like Amazon's got their Lord of the Rings experience, HBO has Game of Thrones, Westworld, and whatnot. Like Netflix is making big production. I think they're probably on the cheaper side because they make so much content, but they are definitely trying to obtain enough resources. Like everyone wants the next big thing in TV because I really do think it's the next pioneer landscape for consumers. Because I think it looks like when it comes to movie trends, with the exception of Disney. Movies are not doing as well as they used to. There are exceptions, some of the big blockbuster ones, but otherwise they're struggling.
Avengers and stuff, they hit big time, but it's like say Sicario, the second one,
Yeah, a good example.
might not be in the big cinemas.
Yeah, and
for example.
and it's because people are comparing it to like Game of Thrones and stuff, where it's like I can watch stuff on TV that has amazing production values these days, like huge levels of storytelling, graphical quality, like the studio, like the set, landscape setups, everything. Like it's all there now. Like it's becoming such a bigger part of pop culture than I think it has been in the past. Like more people, I think, are enjoying TV shows than they are enjoying movies.
They definitely are. It sounds like a statistic Netflix would love to push.
It's always the best when you can just sit down and binge watch. You don't have to wait once a week.
There's a Showtime, though. Gonna have to wait. To kind of further sell this, it's obviously in association with Microsoft and 343, makers of Halo. It's still... Steven Spielberg is still tied to it with his television side of Amblin, which is his studio. So he's still kind of a part. I mean, this is... Like, we've been so close to Halo so many times. We had the whole Neil Blomkamp and the Peter Jackson thing, which ended off splitting off into District 9. We never got that, but maybe this is the chance, because we've got Rupert Wyatt, who worked on Rise of the Planet of the Apes. He's going to helm multiple episodes, and also be an executive producer. There's 10 one-hour-long episodes, so they're going for the kind of Game of Thrones kind of length.
It's kind of like the higher production quality TV show. 10 episodes, longer length, more budget shown on screen as opposed to the 24 episodes, more episode by episode. You want to watch 10 in one lot, kind of thing.
Let's just hope that just because a show is long doesn't mean that it won't stagnate. So let's just hope it sticks.
You don't want it to become a Walking Dead, but to kind of put on a question to you, Russell, do you think it will be as high quality as Game of Thrones and Westworld?
No. My short answer is no for a lot of reasons. One, Game of Thrones took a long time to get there. To be the point that it was so popular, it was pulling so many people in, that I think at this point, I'd be surprised anyone who has gotten to that point, like the most recent season, and gone, I'm going to watch the final one, I can't bother. Like, I don't think anyone's at that level. Like, no, I have to finish it. I have to see the end, no matter what.
No, you're sort of held hostage to get that
where
far.
Westworld, from my understanding, is they're spending so much money on that show that I think they're going to actually take a long hiatus. I think the next season is supposed to be like 2 years away, so they can really think about where that story's going to go and the locations are going to go on a cheaper level, because I think they've spent so much on the first 2 seasons that it doesn't quite have the video viewership numbers that like Game of Thrones has. So all that be considered, I would be surprised if this Halo show goes off from the gate, but just throwing money away to try and make it like the best thing ever. I would be skeptical. I think they'll try and cut corners where they can and keep it simple. You'll see like maybe 1 or 2 CGI covenants or something.
Similar to Nightfall, Halo Nightfall.
Yeah, similar to Nightfall. Yeah, exactly like Nightfall. Yeah, it's the quality I'm expecting. Like that's what I am expecting, the Nightfall quality.
I'm expecting much more than that. But John, do you think it'll break the kind of bad video game adaptation curse and actually be something genuinely good?
I'm hoping so. I mean, it all depends on what story they're going to tell, but as long as it's a decent one, it should hopefully break the curse.
Where do you think they should start? Like, where do you think this show should take place?
Well, the whole question is, are they going to base it anywhere off of the games of Master Chief, or are they going to go a totally different way with like a different character and then introduce them, somehow tie them into the scenarios that's happened in the games? I don't know.
Personal guess is that Master Chief won't be the protagonist, because he's not a talker. He's meant to be you, like sort of in the initial games. I think it'll take place of some UNSC soldier who, or even like, I think he'd be mid to high rank. So you'd see, I think it'd probably cover the whole start of it, maybe even pre-Halo, the kind of like civil war between the human factions.
So you're sort of hoping for a Fall of Reach scenario with a little teasers of Master Chief or something like that in there, and then
if they give me humans. Fall of Reach, that's well produced, lots of money behind it, I am in 1,001%.
I think as someone who enjoys the Halo series but has never been like obsessed with it, when I look at that brand, I think I agree. It can't be. I think Master Chief can't be the main character because people would be annoyed if you suddenly he becomes a talkative character talking. He's like the narrative like structured around him. I think people wouldn't want that. But I do think he has to be a figure in the show. I don't think he can be like, Master Chief's not around. There's no aliens. It's just humans on humans. I think for people to be interested in the show that isn't just a hardcore Halo people, I think you need the hook of an alien attack or at least some I would be surprised if it's not the Covenant. If it's I can't think what the 4 and 5 were. Those other ones.
We don't talk about those here.
The original trilogy, the Covenant arc, the Flood. I wouldn't be surprised if Covenant's a big part of the first season, and then there's probably like an alluded to the Flood, or maybe they do a Flood episode or something.
The one flaw that you've got with Halo is similar to what you've got with Star Wars. Not Star Wars, the Terminator, is you have a main character that has to be in everything for it to then be justified as something from that universe. So Master Chief is John Connor, essentially.
Yeah, it is kind of like that, yeah.
I think he might just be like, you might see his origins. I think you might see as like a legendary figure as like, the Master Chief just did this. It's just like, whoa. Just kind of like offshoot like mentions of him.
Yeah.
I don't see him being a major part, but that's my personal thoughts anyway.
I think you need for that trailer. I think you need the suit for the trailer.
Oh, you'll need him for the trailer. It'll be like the one way to hype it up. But
yeah.
As far as we know, it's expected to begin production in early 2019. So it's a ways off.
Let's just hope the hype's not like Halo 5.
I was thinking, let's just hope it happens. Just bury it.
Alright, so to push ourselves away from the movie side of things, we're now going to talk about the world's favourite console at the moment, because the Nintendo Switch is sort of unstoppable at this point, but we guess we'll find out later in the year when the bigger exclusives hit. But in recent days, we've heard that Hollow Knight recently released on the Switch, but it sold over 250,000 copies within 2 weeks, which is just amazing.
Which is really good, yeah.
Which is really good for that little Australian studio as well.
Hidden home.
Yeah, so...
But the question is, though, is it because people already knew that it was a good game that they wanted to buy it on their new console? Or is it because the new console is just that good?
Both.
I think that is the right answer. It is both.
I think Nintendo has really found a good... because they never... With the Wii U, they never got the third-party support as much as they did. And they didn't really support indies that great. Because as a platform, we all know what the Wii U ended up being. A colossal failure.
Definitely.
And a terrible, terrible console. Good games, crappy console, but with the Switch, because indie and handheld kind of really go together. Like, Russell is a big fan of the Vita. You've played a ton of indie games on that console.
Yeah, there's always something appealing about just having the option to playing something on the go. Like, it's the single negative of the Vita is that you don't have the option to then play it again when you're at home. Like, the Switch has both things going for it. It's like, if you want to play it on the big screen, on your big telly or whatever, you can. And you can also take it with you on the train. Or, I mean, you can't play it while you're driving, admittedly, but...
You can give it a go.
Give it a shot.
It probably won't end well.
Yeah.
Especially playing Dark Souls.
But even with, Fortnite and stuff coming these days, the portability is a big selling point. Like, it going to mobile, of course, it has to come to the Switch as well. And the indies are just seeing that effect of people going, well, I didn't want to have to be locked into playing this game on a PC when I'd rather be watching Game of Thrones or playing the latest AAA game like God of War or whatever. So
PC's
Switch
not handheld.
allows you to have that freedom to go, okay, Hollow Knight, I've seen people give it excellent reviews. It looks great. The art style's good. It was in their E3 conference and whatnot. It's cheap. I can play it on the Switch. I can play it on the go. I can play it for an hour on my train ride to work, from home, etc. Yep, sure, pick it up. And they're seeing that success through that exact mentality.
Yeah, because there's even examples of other studios talking about it. Because you've got the studio behind a game called Death Squared sold more on Switch in 3 days than they did on all platforms combined. It's just they are finding success here that they never found on Steam, PSN, or Xbox. I wonder if that's got anything to do with just how chaotic
Definitely.
Those stores are. Because you've got Steam has now been called the Wild West. They don't care what goes on there as long as it's not illegal. That's basically it.
It is the stores.
And we have sales from time to time that steals all your money, but it's all good. It's legal.
I was going to say the store size is such a big impact because it allows smaller games to be the front runner in that week. Whereas Steam, it's it could be 100 games in a week or whatever.
Yeah, and good luck.
Yeah, it is so many to choose between, and these days some people they're just making good thumbnails. Sometimes just images look good. It's well, I can't play everything. I just got to ignore it. When you're getting things less frequently, they can highlight something and they go, this is Hollow Knight's week. Pick it up. And then you can see other people playing it because you can check the top grossing games in the week or whatever, and they go, oh, Hollow Knight's up there, and like maybe I should pick that one up. So it has this impact where as the stores get larger, more convoluted, more games, etc., it's harder to find these games. I think Nintendo's doing it well in just little piecemeal of releases, not a ridiculous amount like some of these other consoles.
So you think if the eShop gets the same influx that those other stores get, do you think that will really hurt indies here?
Yeah, I definitely think it will. I think once everyone starts putting stuff on the Switch, I think it's going to impact the success of little games like Hollow Knight and the whatnot.
Jordan, do you think they could actually curate this store and like really find the spot for these indie games to be, even if the store does become a bit more chaotic?
It all depends on how they do it. If they just turn it into Steam, then you'll have problems. But if they make it where they still have featured games and then all the other games in like another section, that might work.
Might help.
Yeah, or even if they had like a once a week they'd rotate, pick this game over this game scenario. I'm not sure how the best way to go about doing that is, but too much does flood the market and find it hard to find what you're after.
It's definitely true for Steam because like Steam used to be the indie platform. Not anymore. People have jumped ship because it's just... And Valve aren't helping that situation whatsoever, so...
Yeah, the difficulty of being found, it's just too great on that platform.
Yeah. Even on other platforms, it's really good that they're finding, like... Nintendo have really cultivated, like, a home for indie. Or Nindie, as they like to call it. It's just, like... They are really supporting indie games, which is really good to see, and because some of these indie games are, like... I've played better indie games than I've played better AAA games. Like, it happens more often than you'd think.
Because the thing about indie games are... what I always enjoy about them is the surprise factor, where it's like you're never sure how good they're going to be, where it's like you could just pick up on a whim for a cheap price and go, this game's excellent. Where AAA, it's like, it's sometimes hard to meet the expectations you even have going into it. Where it's like, okay, I'm expecting big things that I spent $80 or $100 or whatever on this game. I'm expecting it to be very good. Where an independent game you just casually find and go, oh, that art style look kind of cool. It says it's a Mega Man game or something. It's like, I like that game. I want to pick up this game too. And you pick up, it's got that surprise factor. It's like, this is horrible and I shouldn't have bought it. Oh, this is excellent. It's just double whammy.
It is a bit. It depends on who you buy it from. But anything else to add? Anyone?
Jordan, I haven't got much more. The Switch, just great console overall.
No, other than the Switch is essentially the dream console. That's why it's been selling so well. Just that portability.
Are you going to get one, Jordan?
I will get one. Not yet. I'll wait till December for Smash Bros.
Good decision. Then I'll get one. Very respectable. I think that about wraps it up. Jordan's buying the Switch, everyone. Hey.
I'm buying a Switch. I'm taking
the Switch.
I'm taking the
Switch. Switching it up. Alright, so to kind of move on to like a more new thing, something that hasn't quite come out yet, but me and Russell have had a little preview because of the really, really good demo they released for this game, because Octopath Traveller, Square Enix, is done by the Bravely Default people, looks so good.
It is like the most excellent representation of like what Final Fantasy Classic would be right now. Like, if Final Fantasy VI continued and existed now without the Final Fantasy VII advancements and the 3D and etc., all that kind of stuff, this is what I believe that game would be. It would be Octopath Traveller. It's got that pixel art style, but it's got amazing visual effects over the top that just couldn't be done at the time with the graphics or the programming skills. Like, it just wasn't achievable for that time. But now, it just has such an amazing impact when you see it. Like, the distance... Like how they blur out the backgrounds and then kind of have like this foreshadow effect. It almost sounds like Paper Mario or something, where it's like it's got these levels to it, like a pop-up book or something.
Yeah, it does. It's really because like I like the fact that you say pop-up book. The collector's edition comes with a pop-up book.
Yeah, and it makes sense because it just has that levelness to it, where it's like it feels like things are in the foreground and whatnot, almost like a stage, which is really cool. But that's not like the reason why I think it's really cool.
All the mechanics.
Yeah, the mechanic off the get-go is you've got 8 playable characters.
Octopaths.
And you make their choice. You make which one you want to play from the get-go. Now, I picked the warrior class. I don't know which one you picked. Admittedly, because that was the cool thing about this demo allows you to continue into the main game. So when the main game comes out July 13th, I believe,
Yep, that's correct.
It allows you to transfer your save from this demo, which the demo has a 3-hour time limit on it, but you can do almost anything you can do in the main game right away. There are some exceptions. I did go some paths it wouldn't let me go.
Yeah, I saw that as well.
You can't do this in the demo. But
for the most part.
For the most part, just keep going. Just keep going. I'm like, okay, I'll just keep going for the 3 hours.
So you can essentially play the majority of the game, but
no.
all of it.
This is an RPG, Jordan. This is probably
it's
like
a JRPG.
It's probably because it's portable. I'm guessing it's probably like 50 hours to win it. I'm guessing probably to do all of it, it's probably 100 hours plus.
With all the characters, do all the storylines, because as you said, there's 8.
Yeah. But it's interesting how they segment. So I picked the warrior, as I always do, because I considered like the concept of like, this is what I was going to play. I'm like, I have to pick the strength one. Always strength, always attack. So warrior straight off the get-go. And what's cool or immediately obvious is it's segmented into separate stories for each character. So when I picked the warrior, he has his initial backstory told. He's basically a warrior, and he gets betrayed on the battlefield. And then it's kind of like he's gone into recluse in this like town, but then that town goes under attack by bandits. So like you go on this quest to defeat the bandit. But what's really cool is when you go out to explore, when you enter combat, it has that classic JRPG switch where it's like you see them as little pixel characters on the map or whatever, and then when you go into combat, it's suddenly like the boss character could be massive. So in my case, it was a bandit.
So almost like the Pokemon scenario, where it goes from walking and then into battle mode.
But there's actually more Pokemon in this than you suspect. When I talk about my character,
and it's more representation of the character in the universe. So it's like they're a little pixel character, very Final Fantasy VI-esque. But then when you enter combat, that character will suddenly transform into what they look like in this like pixel like fight stance style in classic turn-based RPG.
Yeah, sideways on with all the brilliant effects and stuff.
And transition. And then once you've completed that initial character's little story, you then are open up to the world, and you can go wherever the hell you want to go, and then the other 7 characters you can collect to add to your party. That's how you build them. And then when you go to those characters, you start their story. So then their intro plays, and then they instead of doing the dungeon that's set up for that character, you now do that dungeon with the original character added as an extra character, and the dungeon's harder. So you're doing... my understanding is you end up doing all 8 of the character's story, but they get harder each time, and then, of course, you can change your team composition to make up for the fact that like it's getting harder. And now you've got 4 people in your team instead of 1, 2, 3, as you get more and more people.
Yeah, and...
By doing all 8 stories every time, wouldn't it get a little repetitive?
No.
Even though
you don't have to.
You don't have to, and every one character is different. I'll let Mitch say what his one is now, because I'm not sure if it is one I've done yet.
Okay, so I picked the kind of more huntress character.
Right, yeah.
She's got a little pet, and like the way the warrior plays and the way she plays are very different, because Octopath has this like each character has their own trait, which lets them do something unique. Where hers is like she'll just start a fight with someone to provoke them. Oh, that's what it's called.
Come on, fight me.
Yeah, so you can, and it's not just with like enemies. You can walk up to anyone, most people. You can do these little traits with, because like she does that. You got a merchant character, you can buy stuff and so forth. But the character I picked in combat, she can summon in other creatures. So she's basically a Pokemon trainer who you can weaken them down, you can capture them, you can use them again in combat.
You usually mean Pokemon. You can capture every monster like in the game.
Most monsters, some are untamable, but for the most part, most generic enemies can be used. And turned into a minion.
So cool. I didn't get to Hunter.
You capture a bartender?
And already she sounds awesome. If that's what she could do. She's the Pokemon trainer.
She's basically the Pokemon trainer, and man, it's really cool because just how that all plays. She's got a pet, and you didn't really talk about it, but I love the fact you can boost up.
Yeah.
There's the whole boost system.
The boost system is very reminiscent of Bravery Default. If you've played that before, it's basically like you're sacrificing... In that game, it was a little bit different, I guess. You were sacrificing turns to allow you to do like 4 turns early, or that kind of thing. In this game, you're essentially building up bonus turns so you can then like play it off. So it's like you're building up a meter, and I'll use all 4 of them now. I'll use 3 of them now to do 3 attacks in a row. But you still get future turns. You just don't get the meter building up anymore.
Yeah, it's a really cool element that makes it really interesting. I haven't got to the point where I've had multiple characters, but I feel it will start. The combat would get really good. The later you play it through.
The battle point system really ties into strategy because the enemies have a vulnerability to certain weapon types and a certain amount before they enter a staggered mode. And when they're staggered, they lose their attack, so it cancels out their turn, and you do more damage. Yeah, so you start to build up like a system of, alright, I have 3 characters in my team. This whatever I'm versing, a giant snake or something, it's vulnerable to spears and swords. 2 of my characters have those weapons. And I can build up their battle points, trigger them all for once, and do like 10 attacks in one turn, stagger it, and then on the next turn, I use my other character to trigger their 5 turns, plus them doing their own each one. You're suddenly doing like 7 attacks when they're weak in state. So it has a really cool strategic effect that really keeps the gameplay involved in every aspect of it, and you really consider what the weakness is, what weapons you should be using, what attacks you should be using. That's all very, very illustrated in the gameplay with these little meters and whatnot. Isn't simply like the old, do your turn, and whatever. It's like you're considering potentially multiple turns ahead. Like, okay, I'm building up to this attack, so I can potentially kill it off in very fast pace. So it's a really cool build.
It's such a smart game, and it's like so smart that they're putting out all these demos. So it's like they really have confidence in this game because they're like, here's the game again. It's like, here's all the characters from the start. You can play for 3 hours. Play it, see what you like. They're really banking on the fact that it's like, this is a good game. People are going to buy it.
The good thing with releasing a lot of demos as well is it gives them a lot of feedback on what to improve. As well, it gives people
this one
more
is
hype.
literally like a test for the game, where it's like in the sense of if you're even thinking about playing this game, download the demo because you're going to know after playing the demo whether you like the game or not. 100%.
Yeah, and like even interesting is that like I've heard like developers have actually been listening and things have changed between this demo and the last one. It's like you can actively see where they're changing things, and it's really cool just to get that, because we don't normally get that where it's like this will be a demo, it'll be the final product, but we don't know that. This one, they say demo, but it's kind of a beta almost.
It's like the start of the game, and so it's basically like here's a trial run of the start of the game, and you can just continue your save progress into the final game. Which I said, July 13th when it comes out, I'm just going to transfer my save and continue exactly where I was, because my main goal was to get as many people as I could as fast as I could. So I ended up getting 4 people to my team, but I didn't complete the 4th person's quest. But I had a full team of 4. You can get up to the 8, but I think it can only have 4 in a battle at once.
Yeah.
But I love the very fact that every character is so different. The warrior's focus is on using 2 weapons and fighting people. Like, his strength is his focus. Obviously, it's a warrior. But then, as you said, the hunter, like, it's a Pokemon-esque style. And then another character is the dancer, which was in the original demo as well. That character can allure people in villages, like just general NPCs, to be in your party. And she can call them in combat to assist you in combat.
Can do that
and
as
do,
well.
like, crazy...
Sorry, that out of context sounds so like, hey, come dance over here.
That is her character.
No.
So she allures people, and that they join her. That's like literally her thing.
So if they then die in their party, are you responsible for that?
They don't die. So they're almost like an assist thing. So they call them in and they do their attacks a couple of times and they disappear and you have to call them back again.
Yeah, they run away.
But it's a finite.
It's like, this isn't what I thought you were calling me over for.
But they're good. Like you can pick them. It's like I picked a couple. One had a crazy like arrow attack. They're shooting like 10, 12 arrows. Another one was like casting like healing spells. Like, it was cool the characters you can get, and each one has its own story. Like the dancer's story, like set up where like her father's murdered by like these 3 occult members, and she's trying to work out who those occult members are. Like, each character has their own story, own unique abilities, own things.
The huntress is trying to find her master, who's gone off on this hunt, doesn't know what happened to him. You got all these, like, every character is a motivation in a storyline, so it's really like you'll want to find all these characters and see what their thing is, like, because it's cool.
Yeah, it just feels like there's just so much going for the game and so much choice. Like, it just seems like you can tackle it in any order. Like, if you want to start from the Huntress and maybe even just do the Huntress's mission. Like, I don't know if you need to recruit anyone. I think you can just do the Huntress's story. But I think the level cap might be a problem where it's like if you just pursue the Huntress's story, it might be like they recommend you like level 27. It's like, well, maybe I should pick up the other people to level up my character or something.
But yeah,
instead of pursuing. But
I'd imagine more people makes it easier.
of course it does, because you have more options in combat. But they make it harder. So even though it's not like everything's like level 5 from the start, like every character you pick, but when you do the first one, every other character now might be like level 7, and then it might be you do the next one till you've got 2 people in your party, now everything's level 9. So they do accommodate the difficulty to how many people you have in your party and what level you are. So it's not just like everything's just a joke. It's like I've got 4 people now, everything's just super easy. Like it was hard. Like one of the fights I had with a snake where I had 3 party people. No, was it 2 or 2? Maybe 2 people at that point in my team. That was tough. Like it was a tough fight. It was poisoning all my team. And I kept using all my spells. No, it was the third person because I had the apothecary, and the apothecary can cast all these healing spells. So I had to keep healing the poison and shit. Like it's not easy, even at that stage.
Are we talking about a regular snake here?
No, it's a giant snake. It's like a basilisk.
Fantasy snake.
It looks like a normal snake.
So it would eat you alive scenario.
It looks like a normal snake in the the open world or whatever. Where in the story, it's like it's a little snake, and then in combat, it'll just become like a giant basilisk, like huge snake. The transitions are really cool.
They are cool. It's just like I wish you were fighting like a regular snake, but yeah, that's like.
So you could be like, tra-la-la-la, going through a forest. Hey, look, there's a snake. Let's battle it.
No,
this was a mistake.
This snake was the boss conclusion to the first part of that character, the apothecary story. The kid gets poisoned. He needs to get like venom from the snake to heal it.
Clearly, we're excited for Octopath Traveller. We'll discuss it more when it actually finally releases.
Which isn't too long.
This month. Couple weeks.
I haven't
2
played
weeks?
it, but now I'm really intrigued in playing it.
It's still Switch though, Jordan. That's the problem for you. It's a Switch game, exclusive.
Nintendo Switch exclusive. Another reason to own a Switch. But yeah, Octopath looks great, plays great. It's gonna be a great game for the Switch, and we're very excited. Well, that about wraps up the Gaming Booth podcast. Thank you for joining us for episode 1. I'm sure the following episodes will be far better than this one. While you're here, why not check out our other videos on the Optional Extra channel for more reviews, discussions, and everything else. But I've been Mitch. Hopefully, we'll see you on the next one. Adios.
Hey, come dance over here with me. Come on, come over here.